Chapter 1. First Contact. Jack scanned the bustling corridors of Harmony Space Station, a hub teeming with traders, diplomats, and now, unexpectedly, the Xanthii delegation. The arrival of the aliens had sent ripples of both excitement and anxiety through the human crew and residents. Positioned at the edge of known space, Harmony had seen its fair share of peculiar visitors, but none as enigmatic and coldly imposing as the Xanthii. As he made his way to the docking bay, Jack was joined by Commander Lucas, a seasoned officer with a keen strategic mind, and Dr. Eli Schneider, the station's lead xenobiologist. Together, the trio formed the welcoming committee, a gesture of peace and curiosity. "Remember, no sudden movements. They perceive it as a challenge," Dr. Schneider whispered, adjusting his glasses. "And keep eye contact to a minimum." Lucas grunted in acknowledgement, his gaze fixed on the approaching delegation. "Let's just get through this without any incidents. I don't trust these cold fish." The airlock doors hissed open, revealing the Xanthii. Tall and covered in shimmering scales, their leader, Threx, stepped forward, flanked by two guards. Their movements were precise, almost rehearsed, as they entered human territory for the first time. Jack stepped forward, offering a slight bow, a gesture they hoped would be understood as respectful. "Welcome to Harmony Station. I'm Jack Harper. This is Commander Lucas, and Dr. Eli Schneider. We hope to make your stay comfortable." Threx nodded slightly, his voice a deep rumble. "We are grateful, Human Jack. Our stay will be brief. We seek only to understand your kind better." Lucas offered a tight smile. "And we you. Harmony is a place of learning and exchange." Dr. Schneider, ever the scientist, was keen to break the ice. "Your biological adaptations are fascinating. The ability to thrive in such low temperatures is quite remarkable." The mention of biology seemed to pique Threx's interest, his eyes narrowing slightly. "And your kind thrives in much warmth, yes? Curious how predators adapt." The word predator hung in the air, a miscommunication they hadn't anticipated. Jack quickly steered the conversation back to neutral ground. "Yes, humans are adaptable. We look forward to exchanging knowledge and experiences with you." Threx nodded, and his gaze lingered on Jack longer than it had on the others. "We shall see what truths unfold, Human Jack. Lead us to where discussions will be held." As they walked through the corridors, Jack pointed out various cultural and scientific exhibits designed to foster understanding between species. "Here at Harmony, we believe in the power of dialogue and cooperation. Each section of this station has representatives from different human cultures." The Xanthii leader paused before a holographic display showcasing Earth's diverse ecosystems. Diversity within a single species. Unusual. Effective, perhaps, in survival. "Yes, diversity is our strength," Jack replied, hoping to impress upon their guest the complexity and resilience of human society without crossing into the misunderstood territory of aggression. Reaching the conference room, Lucas gestured inside. "We've prepared a meeting space here. Food, drink, anything you need. Just let us know." Threx looked around, his expression unreadable. "We require little. Discussion and observation will suffice." As the Xanthii settled in, Jack exchanged a look with his colleagues. "Let's keep things straightforward and open. We're not just representing Harmony here, but all of humanity." With a final nod from Lucas and a reassuring pat from Dr. Schneider, Jack prepared to delve deeper into diplomatic discussions, hopeful that despite their rocky start, they could find common ground with the Xanthii. Chapter 2. A Cultural Misunderstanding. Inside the austere conference room aboard Harmony Space Station, Jack Harper stood at the head of a long table, his eyes scanning the diverse assembly. The Xanthii delegation, led by Threx, sat with an air of detached curiosity, while the human representatives, Jack, Commander Lucas, Dr. Eli Schneider, and now joined by Chief Engineer Alan Park, displayed a mix of anticipation and nervousness. As the meeting began, Jack initiated the proceedings with a warm smile. "Thank you for joining us today. We are here not just to share knowledge, but to build a bridge between our civilizations." Threx nodded, his deep voice resonating through the room. "We are prepared to observe and learn, Human Jack. Your station is a nexus of many paths." Lucas leaned forward, his tone diplomatic yet firm. "We understand your people value strength and survival. Here, we value cooperation and understanding. Perhaps today we can see how these values complement each other." Threx's eyes narrowed slightly. "Strength is paramount. It allows survival. Cooperation is a means to an end, not a strength on its own." Dr. Schneider interjected, eager to find common scientific ground. "Perhaps a discussion about our respective environments could illuminate why we cherish different values. For example, our adaptation to diverse climates on Earth." Alan, who had been silent until now, added, "And maybe a tour of our engineering facilities later could show how our technology has been a critical part of our survival, through cooperation." Threx considered this. "I am agreeable to this. Your achievements in survival are of interest." Jack, sensing an opportunity, steered the conversation towards practical demonstrations of human technology and cultural achievements. "Let's start with our environmental control systems. They're a testament to human ingenuity in adapting to various extraterrestrial conditions." As the group moved to the Environmental Control Center, Alan led the way, explaining the intricacies of the life support systems. These systems are capable of simulating nearly any climate found on Earth, from the Sahara's heat to the Arctic's cold. Threx and his companions listened intently, their expressions unreadable as sensors and screens flickered with data. "Impressive," Threx finally said. "Adaptation tools. You shape your surroundings to survive." "Yes, exactly," Alan responded enthusiastically. "It's about using our resources wisely to benefit everyone on the station." The tour continued to the cultural exhibit section, where Jack hoped to highlight human diversity and creativity. He guided them through displays of art, music, and literature from various Earth cultures. "Each of these pieces tells a story from a different part of our world," Jack explained, gesturing towards a collection of classical paintings and digital art installations. "They represent the breadth of human expression and emotion." Threx paused before a digital reconstruction of an ancient Earth city. "Your species invests much in what you call art. Is this also considered strength?" Jack smiled, sensing the shift in Threx's tone from skepticism to genuine curiosity. "In a way, yes. It strengthens our spirit and our community. It teaches us to see the world through others' eyes. It's a different kind of strength, one that's not about survival, but about making life worth living." The Xanthii leader looked thoughtful, and for a moment the cultural chasm between them seemed bridgeable. "I begin to see your point, Human Jack. Perhaps there is strength in diversity and expression." As they returned to the conference room, Jack felt a cautious optimism. The day had started with misunderstandings, but as it progressed, a dialogue had begun, one that might one day lead to a genuine understanding between humans and Xanthii. Chapter 3. The Hunter's Dilemma. Back in the conference room of Harmony Space Station, the air was charged with a tentative sense of progress. The morning's discussions and tours had sparked a noticeable change in the atmosphere, bridging some of the cultural divides between humans and Xanthii. Jack, feeling cautiously optimistic, decided it was time to delve deeper into personal exchanges that could further this newfound understanding. Seated around the sleek table were Jack, Threx, Commander Lucas, Dr. Eli Schneider, and Alan Park. Each was prepared with questions and observations, aiming to decipher more about their counterparts. Jack initiated the dialogue with a focus on individual experiences. "Threx, you've seen a bit of our technology and culture. What's life like on your home planet? How do you spend a typical day?" Threx leaned back, his eyes reflecting a contemplative sheen. "Our world is harsher than yours. The strong lead, and survival is a daily effort. A leader must be vigilant and unyielding." Lucas, ever the tactician, was curious about their social structure. "Sounds like you value leadership and strength above all. How do you choose your leaders?" "Through trials. The strongest, the most cunning rise. It is the way of things," Threx explained, his voice a rumble of pride. Alan, looking for parallels, chimed in. "We have different trials, perhaps not always physical, but challenges nonetheless. Our leaders need to be wise, compassionate, and decisive. How do you ensure your leaders aren't just strong but also wise?" Threx pondered Alan's question before answering. "Strength comes in many forms. Wisdom is its own strength. But it is proven through action, not words." Dr. Schneider, always keen to find a scientific angle, steered the conversation towards biology. "And does your biology influence how you form these social bonds and hierarchies?" "Yes," Threx admitted. "Our biology dictates much. The strong survive and lead. It is natural selection." Jack, seeing an opportunity to deepen their dialogue, suggested, "Perhaps you'd like to see how we train and educate our leaders? We could visit our training facility here on the station." Threx nodded. "That would be enlightening." The group moved to the leadership training facility, a sector of the station dedicated to developing diplomatic and strategic skills among crew and visitors alike. As they toured the facility, Lucas explained various training modules. "We use simulations to teach crisis management, diplomatic strategies, and even interspecies ethics," Lucas described, pointing to a holographic interface displaying a complex negotiation scenario. Threx was visibly intrigued. "You train for peace?" "Yes, peace requires as much strength as war," Lucas responded. "Perhaps more, in certain respects." As the tour concluded, they gathered in a small, informal meeting area within the facility. Jack, hoping to solidify the day's progress, invited Threx to share more about Xanthii culture. Threx, now more open, began detailing hunting practices and rites of passage in his culture, explaining how these shaped both individual and societal values. Jack listened intently, then shared his own story. "I grew up on Earth, in a place where community mattered more than individual success. Our rites of passage were about community service, learning, and understanding our place in the world." The exchange left both parties reflective. As they returned to the conference room, Threx paused and looked at Jack. "Human Jack, your ways are strange, yet there is wisdom in them. This exchange has been beneficial." Jack smiled, sensing a breakthrough. "I'm glad to hear that, Threx. Understanding each other's worlds, that's the real strength of meetings like this." As the group disbanded for the day, there was a mutual feeling of accomplishment. They had not only shared information, but had begun to appreciate the complexities of each other's lives. Jack felt they were on the right path, one that might eventually lead to a true partnership between humans and Xanthii. Chapter 4. The Turning Point. After a productive day of discussions and demonstrations, Jack and Threx found themselves unexpectedly paired for an inspection of the station's outer modules. The inspection was routine, meant to check the integrity of the station's hull and critical systems, but the timing couldn't have been better for fostering a deeper connection under more challenging conditions. Accompanied by Chief Engineer Alan Park and Safety Officer Mike Jensen, they geared up in their space suits. The quiet hum of the station's life support faded as they entered the airlock, giving way to the muffled sounds of their own breathing and the occasional crackle of radio communication. "All right, everyone, keep your comms open and stay within visual range," Mike instructed as the outer doors opened, revealing the vastness of space beyond. Threx, who had never before performed a spacewalk, watched the Earth floating silently in the blackness, its blue hues stark against the void. "Your planet. It is beautiful," he murmured, his voice carrying a note of awe. Jack smiled inside his helmet. "It's something, isn't it? Out here, you really get a sense of how we're all just trying to make it on our little islands in the sky." As they moved along the hull, checking seals and sensor arrays, Alan pointed out various features. "These panels are solar collectors. They power a good portion of the station and even support our life support systems." Threx was closely examining the technology. "Similar to ours, but your design is more integrated." The inspection was going smoothly until a sudden alarm blared through their headsets. "Warning! Pressure drop in Sector 7G. Immediate attention required," the station's automated system announced. Mike quickly assessed the situation. "We're closest. Jack, Threx, follow me. Alan, circle back to guide us through the repairs." The urgency of the situation brought a new dynamic to the group. As they approached the affected area, Threx's earlier observations about survival came to the forefront. Jack, working alongside Threx, showed him how to apply the sealant to the compromised panel. "Here, let me show you. It sets quickly in vacuum." Threx followed Jack's movements with precision. "You handle emergencies with calm. Is this also part of your training?" "Absolutely," Jack responded. "Staying calm under pressure, that's key. Isn't it similar for your leaders?" Threx nodded as they finished the repair. "It is. But often, it is not just about maintaining calm but also asserting dominance over the situation." Mike checked their handiwork with a scanner. "Good job, it's holding. Let's head back. We'll do a full diagnostics check from inside." As they made their way back to the airlock, the conversation shifted from their immediate task to broader reflections. "Today was a good example of what we face out here," Jack said. "Not just the physical challenges, but the mental ones too. We have to trust each other completely." Threx seemed contemplative. "Trust is earned where I come from, often through displays of strength." Jack adjusted his tether. "Here too, but it's also earned through cooperation. Like today. We couldn't have fixed that without working together." Back inside the station, as they removed their space gear, Threx extended a hand to Jack, a gesture of respect among his people. "I understand better now. Your strength is not just in survival, but in your bonds with each other." Jack grasped Threx's hand firmly. "And I hope that's something we can build on, Threx. Not just as allies, but as friends." As the group dispersed, the day's events had clearly made an impact, illustrating not only human ingenuity and adaptability, but also the potential for genuine camaraderie and understanding between species. The moment marked a significant turn in their relations, setting a foundation for deeper cooperation. Chapter 5. Realization. In the aftermath of the emergency repair on the space station, the crew gathered in the main medical bay for routine checks. The adrenaline of the moment had faded, and now, in the quieter ambience of the medical facility, there was space for reflection and deeper conversation. Jack, Threx, Mike Jensen, and Dr. Eli Schneider were present, each being examined by the medical staff for any signs of stress or physical strain from the spacewalk. Threx was the first to break the silence as the medic checked his vital signs. "Your actions today. They were not what I expected," he said, looking at Jack with a newfound respect. Jack, sitting across from him with a medical sensor attached to his chest, chuckled softly. "What did you expect? I thought humans acted primarily out of self-interest. Today showed me more," Threx admitted, his tone more introspective than usual. Mike, overhearing the conversation as he waited his turn, joined in. "It's not just about survival for us. It's about making sure everyone makes it, not just physically but together, as a team." Dr. Schneider, always keen to turn experiences into teaching moments, added, "It's fascinating, isn't it, Threx? How critical situations can reveal the core of our beings, not just as individuals, but as a community." Threx nodded thoughtfully. In Xanthii culture, strength and leadership are often demonstrated through individual prowess. What I saw today was strength through unity. Jack smiled, sensing the barriers continuing to dissolve. "Exactly. We believe that facing challenges together strengthens our bonds and our ability to handle future crises. It's a cornerstone of our training and our daily lives here." The medic gave Threx a nod, indicating he was in good health. As Threx stood, he gestured for Jack to follow him to a quieter corner of the bay. "Human Jack, this cooperation, it is not weakness then?" "Far from it," Jack assured him. "It's a different kind of strength. One that perhaps isn't as visible, but is crucial for the kind of life we want to lead out here, surrounded by the unknown." Threx paused, considering Jack's words. "I am beginning to understand. Your approach. It could benefit my people as well. Perhaps this is something I need to take back with me." Dr. Schneider, intrigued by the turn of the conversation, suggested, "Maybe you'd like to learn more about our psychological training? How we prepare our people not just technically, but mentally and emotionally for the challenges of space." "That would be valuable," Threx agreed. "I will participate." As the group prepared to leave the medical bay, Jack proposed a dinner for the following evening. "Let's have a more informal gathering. Just food, drinks, and some good conversation. It's another way we strengthen our ties and share our cultures." Threx accepted the invitation with a nod. "I will be there. I am eager to continue learning." The crew left the medical bay with a sense of accomplishment and anticipation. The day's emergency had not only tested their preparedness, but had also opened a vital channel of communication and mutual respect between the humans and Threx. It was clear that both sides were beginning to see each other in a new light, not just as distant allies, but as potential partners in the vast expanse of space. This realization was a pivotal moment, marking a shift in their interactions. It was not just about survival anymore, but about building something lasting and meaningful across the stars. Chapter 6. Forbidden Affection. The informal gathering that Jack proposed took place in one of the leisure modules of Harmony Space Station, a place usually buzzing with crew members seeking a brief escape from their responsibilities. Tonight, it was reserved for a private dinner hosting Jack, Threx, Dr. Eli Schneider, Mike Jensen, and Alan Park. The atmosphere was relaxed, filled with the rich aromas of Earth cuisine tailored to suit various palates, including some experimental dishes intended to accommodate Xanthii dietary preferences. As they settled around the low, ambient-lit table, Threx appeared more at ease, intrigued by the human custom of sharing meals for bonding. "This is unusual for us. Meals are solitary, quick. This is extensive," Threx remarked, examining a plate filled with colorful vegetables and grains. Jack passed him a special utensil designed for Xanthii anatomy. "Eating together is a big part of how we build and maintain relationships. It's about sharing, not just food but also stories and experiences." Alan, who had a hand in planning the menu, chimed in. "We thought you might like this. It's based on the nutritional profiles you shared. High in protein, low heat, should be right up your alley." Threx tentatively tried a bite, then nodded in approval. "It is agreeable. You've gone to great lengths to make me feel welcomed. The conversation flowed from topics of culinary traditions to more personal exchanges about their lives and backgrounds. Mike shared anecdotes from his first space missions, drawing laughter and nods from around the table. Dr. Schneider, always curious, turned the discussion to a more serious note. Threx, you mentioned that your people value strength and solitude. What's it like for you, being here, experiencing our ways? Threx's demeanor shifted subtly, a sign of his growing trust. It is revealing. Your strengths are not as visible as ours. They are in your connections, your willingness to share and support each other. It's compelling. Jack noticed Threx's use of the word compelling and decided to delve deeper. Does it make you reconsider how things are done in your culture? There is much to ponder, Threx admitted. Your methods could help us overcome challenges we face, where strength has not been enough. The dinner continued with a shift towards lighter topics, but the seed of curiosity and mutual understanding had been planted. As the evening wrapped up, Threx stood, his stature imposing yet no longer intimidating. Thank you for this evening. I will carry these lessons with me, Threx said, his voice carrying a warmth previously absent. Jack stood as well, extending his hand in the human way. We're glad to have you here, Threx. Let's keep this dialogue open. There's a lot we can learn from each other. As the guests dispersed, Jack and Threx lingered. Human Jack, might I speak with you privately for a moment? Threx requested. The two walked to a viewing window, looking out at the stars. Threx spoke quietly. Your openness, it's not just protocol for you. It's genuine. Jack nodded. It is. We believe in transparency and trust. It makes us stronger, in a way that's different from what you're used to. Threx looked out at the stars, reflective. Perhaps it is time for change among my people. And perhaps I need guidance. Jack placed a reassuring hand on Threx's shoulder. You have it. As long as you're here, you're not just a visitor. You're part of our community. This exchange under the stars marked a turning point not only in Threx's understanding of human ways, but also in his personal journey. It was clear that his experiences on the station were reshaping his perceptions, not just of humanity, but of what strength really meant. Chapter 7. The Moment of Truth. The quiet hum of Harmony Space Station was interrupted by a series of chimes, signaling the start of a formal diplomatic meeting. Delegates from both humanity and the Xanthii were gathered in the largest conference hall, an expansive room filled with glowing displays of shared data and holographic projections of both Earth and Xanthii homeworlds. The atmosphere was one of cautious curiosity, the room charged with the potential for progress, or misunderstanding. Jack Harper adjusted his suit jacket, standing at the center of the human delegation. Beside him were Commander Lucas, Dr. Eli Schneider, and Alan Park. Across the room, Threx stood with his own advisors, their shimmering scales catching the ambient light. "Ready for this?" Lucas asked Jack quietly. "As ready as I'll ever be," Jack replied, scanning the room. "We've laid the groundwork. Now we just need to make it count." The meeting began with an exchange of formal greetings. Threx spoke first, his deep voice resonating through the chamber. "We, the Xanthii, have observed your station, your people, and your ways. It is different from what we know, and yet there is strength in it." Jack stepped forward, responding with a calm confidence. "We're honored to have had the opportunity to learn from you as well. Differences can be bridges, not barriers." The Xanthii advisors exchanged murmurs, clearly intrigued by the sentiment. Threx gestured for silence and focused on Jack. "You speak of bridges, human Jack. Explain to us why your kind values this unity. Is it not easier to rely on the individual? Jack nodded, prepared for this question. Unity doesn't mean we lose our individuality. It means we recognize that together, we're stronger than we are alone. Take this station, for example. It's a collaboration of thousands of individuals, scientists, engineers, diplomats, all working toward a shared goal. Alan Park added, and it's not just humans. This place represents our willingness to connect with others, even those we don't fully understand yet. Threx tilted his head, his gaze unwavering. And when there is conflict, when survival demands swift action, Commander Lucas stepped in. That's when unity shines brightest. Decisions are made collectively, with input from those who bring different perspectives. It's not always easy, but it ensures the best outcomes. Threx considered this, his posture less rigid than before. Your methods are not without merit. But what of leadership? How do you determine who commands? Jack glanced at Lucas, then back at Threx. Leadership is earned through trust, skill, and the ability to inspire. It's not about dominance. It's about guiding others toward a common purpose. Threx's advisors exchanged skeptical looks, but the Xanthii leader himself seemed contemplative. In our culture, leadership is proven through strength. Yet your ways, they intrigue me. Dr. Schneider saw an opening and leaned forward slightly. Threx, you've seen how we operate in crises, how we collaborate. Isn't it possible that strength and cooperation aren't mutually exclusive? Before Threx could respond, a holographic projection activated in the center of the room, displaying a summary of the recent emergency repair operation on the station. It showed Jack, Threx, and the others working together, their combined efforts preventing what could have been a catastrophic failure. This, Jack said, gesturing to the projection, is what we're talking about. No one person could have solved this alone. It took all of us, pooling our strengths and skills. The room fell silent as the Xanthii delegation watched the replay. Threx's expression shifted subtly, a mix of pride and something deeper, understanding. Finally, Threx spoke, his voice measured. You have given us much to consider, human Jack. Your ways challenge our traditions, yet they also reveal possibilities we had not seen. Jack stepped forward, his tone earnest. And you've shown us that strength takes many forms. Together, we can learn from each other, not as adversaries, but as partners. Threx extended his hand, mirroring a gesture he'd learned from Jack. Perhaps this is the first step. Jack clasped Threx's hand firmly, sealing the moment with a shared understanding. Around the room, both human and Xanthii delegates began to discuss ideas for future collaboration, their conversations buzzing with newfound energy. As the meeting adjourned, Jack and Threx lingered near the edge of the room, watching the others. You've changed since you arrived, Jack observed, a hint of a smile on his face. And you, Threx replied, have shown me that strength is not always what it seems. Perhaps it is time for the Xanthii to adapt. Jack nodded, his voice steady. And perhaps it's time for us to embrace even more of what we can achieve together. In that moment, as the humans and Xanthii began to envision a shared future, the divide between their worlds seemed smaller than ever. It was not just a meeting of species. It was the beginning of something greater. Chapter 8. A New Dawn. The soft hum of Harmony Space Station's engines reverberated in the background as Jack Harper stood in the observation deck, gazing out at the infinite expanse of stars. The station was alive with activity, bustling with the preparations for a historic event, the launch of a joint human-Xanthii initiative. It was a day that symbolized a new chapter for both civilizations, one that neither had anticipated when the Xanthii first arrived. Admiring your handiwork, Harper? Commander Lucas's voice broke Jack's reverie. Jack turned to see Lucas approaching, his characteristic smirk in place. Just taking a moment to reflect. It's not every day you see something like this come together. Lucas crossed his arms, joining Jack at the window. You had a lot to do with it. Threx wouldn't have come this far without you. Maybe, Jack said with a shrug. But it wasn't just me. It was all of us. You, Alan, Eli. Hell, even Mike with his stubborn pragmatism. We all played a part. Lucas chuckled. Still, you've got a knack for getting through to people. Even ones as stubborn as Threx. The doors to the observation deck slid open, and Alan Park entered, a datapad in hand. Speaking of Threx, he's asking if we're ready for the presentation. He's been unusually cooperative. Jack grinned. It's amazing what a little trust and mutual respect can do. Alan raised an eyebrow. Don't get too smug. He's still a tough customer, but I'll admit, there's been a change in him. Maybe even in his people. The three men made their way to the central atrium, where the launch ceremony was being held. The room was packed with representatives from both humanity and the Xanthii, the air thick with anticipation. Holographic banners displaying the symbols of the two civilizations hovered overhead, casting a soft glow across the gathering. Dr. Eli Schneider was already on stage, adjusting the microphone and coordinating the event. When she spotted the trio, she waved them over. Jack, you're up first. You've got 5 minutes to set the tone. No pressure. Jack smirked. No pressure at all. As Jack stepped onto the stage, the crowd quieted. He took a deep breath, his eyes sweeping over the audience before he began. Today, we stand at the edge of something extraordinary, Jack started, his voice steady. Not long ago, we were strangers to each other, two civilizations separated by countless light years and vastly different ways of life. But through dialogue, understanding, and shared challenges, we found common ground. He gestured to the Xanthii delegation, where Threx stood prominently. It wasn't easy. There were misunderstandings, moments of doubt. But what we discovered is that strength isn't just about survival or dominance. It's about connection, about building something greater together. Threx stepped forward, signaling his turn to speak. His presence commanded attention, his deep voice resonating through the atrium. When we first came here, we viewed humans as lesser beings, as prey in a universe of predators. But you proved us wrong. You showed us that your strength lies not in the individual, but in the bonds you forge with one another. And now, we see that those bonds can extend beyond your own kind. The room erupted in a wave of murmurs, the weight of Threx's words sinking in. Jack exchanged a brief, knowing glance with him before stepping back. As the ceremony continued, representatives from both sides signed agreements, pledging to work together on joint exploration missions and cultural exchanges. The centerpiece of the event was the unveiling of a new vessel, designed collaboratively by human and Xanthii engineers. Its sleek design combined the best of both civilizations, symbolizing their shared future. After the formalities, the atrium transformed into a lively reception. Jack found himself at a small table with Threx, Lucas, and Alan, each holding glasses of a mildly intoxicating but universally palatable beverage. "You did well today, Threx," Jack said, raising his glass. "Your words carried weight." Threx inclined his head, his expression uncharacteristically warm. "And yours, human Jack. Without your guidance, we would not have reached this point." Lucas leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Look at us. A room full of humans and Xanthii, not just tolerating each other, but actually working together. Who would have thought?" Alan sipped his drink thoughtfully. "It's a reminder that even in the vastness of space, we're not alone. And that's not a bad thing. The conversation shifted to lighter topics, the group enjoying the rare moment of camaraderie. Jack couldn't help but feel a sense of fulfillment. This wasn't just a victory for diplomacy, it was a testament to what could be achieved when people, and species, chose understanding over fear. As the reception wound down, Jack and Threx found themselves back at the observation deck, staring out at the newly launched vessel as it disappeared into the void. "Do you think it will succeed?" Threx asked, his tone contemplative. "I think it already has," Jack replied. "The fact that it exists at all is proof of what we're capable of." Threx nodded, his gaze fixed on the stars. "You have changed us, human Jack. And in doing so, perhaps you have changed yourselves." Jack smiled, a quiet satisfaction settling over him. "Maybe that's the point. We don't just grow alone, we grow together." In the vast, silent expanse of space, the seeds of something greater had been planted. For Jack, for Threx, and for both their peoples, this was only the beginning. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, they knew that the journey ahead would be one worth taking, together.